What's up, guys? This is Ryan Fee for PokerTube, and what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be talking about how to play Ace King. I think that it is oftentimes, especially at the lower levels, a sort of misunderstood hand. I think that, I don't know, maybe because it's not it's not a made hand yet, it's strong, it's sort of unpaired, that sometimes players undervalue it, and I just want to sort of explain my perspective, how I think about Ace King. So, if we look at all hands here, right? This is a chart of 169, all the hands all the starting hands with no limit. Ace King for the unpaired hands is at the top. If you take, for instance, we'll take Ace King offsuit versus a hand even like 9-8 suited, relative to sort of like all the potential offsuit hands. All the potential offsuit hands or unpaired hands. 9-8 suited is one of the ones that will actually do really well versus Ace King, and it still is will only win 40% of the time. And so that's sort of like in a best case scenario. Oftentimes, for instance, let's say we were up against Ace Queen offsuit. All of a sudden Ace Queen is in really bad shape. Versus all the unpaired hands, Ace King doing very, very well, and then versus, for instance, a pair of deuces, slight underdog, but very close to flipping, and then sort of all the way up to, for instance, a pair of queens, still almost a flip. Queen's definitely getting a bit of an edge here, and it's not really until you get to kings where all of a sudden you're in pretty big trouble, or aces where you're in almost drawing dead trouble. Ace King sort of has any sort of like equity problems. In other words, if you're up against a pair, you're basically a flip. And if they don't have a pair, you're going to be anywhere from like a good size to a very large favorite. Just sort of a straightforward, sort of introduction. And by the way, we did Ace King offsuit there. We didn't even, sort of focus on Ace King suited. So sort of a straightforward introduction to Ace King. If you just look at its equity versus other hands, like most other hands in Hold'em, or sort of looking at let's do this for instance. We did 100% of all hands, so they could just have any two cards. It's doing quite well, quite well, and like a big step up from even if we drop down to, for instance, King Queen offsuit, still doing like that 4 whatever what else 3 or 4% is a big shift. Almost 4% is a big shift. So Ace King's a really good hand, and here's sort of the other thing. Again, the two hands that beat it are aces and kings. The thing is, you have both an ace and a king in your hand, and you make it less likely that an opponent will have one of these hands that is going to have aces or kings. So typically, if we look at, let's say, pocket jacks, we can go to our suit selection here, and we can look at all the what's called possible combinations of jacks. So you can have jack of hearts, jack of diamonds. You can have jack of spades, jack of diamonds, jack of clubs, jack of diamonds, spade heart, club heart, and club spade. Right, so that's six combos of pocket jacks. Whereas if you were to have we did jacks. We'll go back real quick. We'll instead pick pocket kings, because that's what really applies here. But let's say that I have Ace King of hearts. Okay, so you can't possibly have a heart in your hand because I have them. So now there's only 3 possible combinations of kings, or the aces would be identical. Because I have the ace and the king of hearts, so you can't possibly have it in your hand. It makes it the hands that it's in trouble against. It makes it less likely when you have that hand. It makes it less likely that you're up against those hands because you have those cards. And versus everything else, it's really just kind of like a flip it worse, or it's in the lead. So I hope sort of through this, sort of shown to you that Ace King, quite a powerful hand pre-flop. I guess maybe some of the misconceptions come in is how to play it. I play ace king very aggressively. I always raise it if I'm first in. Somebody else raises, I almost always 3-bet. And if somebody else 3-bets, I almost always 4-bet. So let's focus. We'll focus on those one by one. So let's start with the raise first in, or maybe some limpers in front of me. I'm going to raise. Again, sort of just looking at the equity of ace king versus almost any range of hands, especially a range of hands that's limped or a range of hands that sort of like to be seen, right? Let's say you're for middle position, ace king probably you're probably gonna have the best of it. Again, flipping it worse, sort of with all the players behind you. So by raising, what you do is two things happen. The first thing that happens is you offer yourself the opportunity to win the pot right there. You can just take down the blinds, take down the limps, and just win the pot and have 100% equity in that pot, win without a showdown. It's a great result. You can also, you can raise and face a call. And again, because ace king is so good, one of two things will happen. Either call is going to lose money, or the call will make money, but not from you. It'll be sort of effectively you and the caller, sort of chopping up the blinds. But ace king is so powerful that for the most part, they're going to be not doing, specifically versus ace king, not doing great, versus their call. There's many spots where maybe if they sort of knew you had ace king, or just like a super strong hand in general, they would fold. So if you face a call, you're in good shape. And then if you face a 3-bet, again, you're in good shape because you can raise again, and you can 4-bet. And again, it's going to be tough for you to be beat. Very unlikely they have aces or kings. You're going to flip it worse sort of versus everything else. So if it goes raise, re-raise, and then you re-raise with ace king, good chance that they fold. You win a nice big pot with 100% equity. You didn't have to flip for it. You just take it down. If they call, again, a big hand that will probably do really well if they call your 4-bet. And then if they raise all in, sort of depending upon the stack size, or raise again depending upon the stack sizes, good chance that you'll go with your hand, and then probably do. I mean, you might have them crushed. They might have a worse ace or something, but you'll probably do just okay in those spots. But you're doing so good in the fold and the call spots that you're excited to go about raising. And the last situation is when sort of somebody else raises, and then you're dealt with ace king and you re-raise. Similar to the 4-bet, it's like if we raise and they fold, all of a sudden all of that money is ours. We have 100% equity in the pot. We win the pot. No showdown. No all-in EV. We can't get sucked out on, so we just take it down right there. If they call again, they're calling with many worse hands: ace queen, ace jack, king queen, king jack. Maybe even a hand like 7s, 8s, or 9s, and then maybe they lose the hand post flop, some overcards. I think you're definitely making a lot of money 3-betting ace king as well, and then should they 4-bet you, you would if you goes raise, you 3-bet, they 4-bet. Again, a situation where you could call or raise. And both of them are probably making money. If you raise, if they get all in, maybe if we look at let's say somebody's willing to get all in pre-flop in a given situation with jacks plus ace king, pretty reasonable. Jacks plus ace king is pretty reasonable range to be getting all in with, in many ring poker situations. Ace king offsuit. So versus sort of the top of their range, you're not doing great, but at that point, remember, you were getting a great price because there's already your 3-bet out there, and if you shovel in and they fold, you win the raise, your 3-bet, and the 4-bet all with with no showdown. So in situations where you go all in and they fold, you're gonna win that again whole pot with 100% equity. And then when you call, I mean, it's definitely not the ideal situation, but you're still gonna have the correct pot odds to continue with their hand. You're gonna do just fine. I guess that in terms of in terms of pre-flop, that that's I guess sort of how I feel about ace king. There are some spots when it's like an early position player, really tight early position player, and maybe maybe I don't want to 3-bet ace king. Maybe I don't want to 3-bet ace king suited. I don't want to 3-bet ace king offsuit. I think that's okay. Again, I would definitely need some information that would suggest that they're very tight, because it's so profitable. You're just gonna make more chips. You're gonna make more money if you 3-bet ace king than if you call with it. The only thing sort of about post flop that I would just caution you is be careful about c-betting ace king. It might be okay to c-bet one and give up, with ace king post flop, but it really it depends on the board. Is it a board like like Jack 10-7 or 10-9-5, where it's very possible that some number, or actually a very good number of the hands that your opponent might have called pre-flop has now made something is not going to fold to the c-bet. So be careful about pick your boards to bet wisely, and think about what, if you do bet the flop, what your opponent's calling with, and if you want to continue bluffing, like if your strategy is to sort of bet the flop with, let's say you have this range, let's say you have the jacks plus or even the queens plus ace king range. Again, if we come down to the combos, I didn't talk about this. We can talk about it real quick. So 6 combinations of all of these pocket pairs, and then 16, 12 offsuit, 4 suited, 16 total combinations of ace king. So essentially, there's 24 of the pocket pairs. So your range is 40% ace king. And in a situation like that, let's say you 3-bet and then you bet half pot, even if you bet a little bit bigger on, let's say the board is 8-3-2, right? You bet 3-bet jacks plus ace king, you bet the flop, they call. And then the turn is, we'll just say 2, right? Very dry board. If you're never betting ace king here, let's say you bet half pot on the flop, right? So if you bet half pot on the flop, your opponent's getting 25% equity to call. And if you just always check fold the turn, it almost doesn't matter what they have. They can just call with anything on the flop. You bet the turn, they just know that you have the jacks plus, that you have the big pair. They're just always going to fold. Excuse me. If you bet the turn, only jacks plus, what their strategy can then be is to just always call the flop and then always fold the turn. But then when you check, they can bet or just win the pot some way. So what you want to do is maybe either 3-bet some other hands, or not always c-bet the flop with ace king, or choose to bet and then maybe fire some barrels, put them in a tough spot. Try not to make yourself easy to play against. Try to be like a little bit less predictable, and put your opponents in tougher spots. Like if you're putting your opponents in tough spots, you're doing a good job. Sort of win or lose, you're on the right track, and you'll be a better player for it. Anyway, thanks for checking me out. Listen to my little ace king spiel here. If you want to hear more, check me out at my training site, upswingpoker.com, or you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/upswingpoker. Thank you very much, and see you soon.